Okay, we're going to talk about visual cues here with high quality garments. You can see in this picture the detail on this item. I think this is a St. John knit suit, but this is one of the most obvious visual cues are these kinds of details. So you can see the beaded fringe on the end of the sleeve along the hemline here and the jeweled buttons. Those are really easy to spot when you're looking at dresses or suits, that type of thing. If you're not familiar, St. John is known for its beautiful details, especially the buttons. So if you find a St. John item that is damaged, you may want to buy it anyway and just cut off the buttons. I have done this before with other brands, with Ralph Lauren, Brooks Brothers, Austin Reed, any of the brands that have the logoed buttons or they're interesting looking buttons. Some of them were just a no name type item that had interesting buttons. Maybe the blazer or jacket was only a couple of dollars, and I ended up selling the buttons for at least 25. So people who sew or crafters, there's all kind of reasons somebody might just buy the buttons. So consider doing that. So here's another view of a St. John item. These are very easy to identify. I actually haven't found that many. I'm not sure why. People in Atlanta find them all the time, but I just haven't stumbled on these. I think I've found like three or four. Here is, I got this from a listing on eBay where someone actually just cut the item apart and left the buttons attached so that whoever bought this to repurpose it will also have the gold embellishment here to do whatever with. So that's a pretty creative way to sell this, if it has a big stain on it. Or I had one time with a broken zipper, and I took it to a dry cleaner to see how much it would be to alter it, and it was going to cost too much. So I just sold the buttons. So if you haven't done this, here are some eBay listings to show you how much these things can sell for. And this is just crazy. What people do is, I don't think they really need a replacement button. I think they're just buying sets of buttons to either make crafts with or to take a plain like Target blazer or something cheap and make it look prettier. So they're buying these buttons. Although if you're buying buttons for $60 a lot, why would you put them on a cheap jacket? Um, I don't know, but that's what I've read on blogs that people are doing. So you can see here like this first lot here with the black and gold, $69 for a lot of 10 buttons. And they've also cut off the tag from the garment so you can see the name brand there. And then we just go on down the line here. This one was for 8 buttons, not just one. So $60 for some St. John buttons. That is just incredible to me that somebody would pay that much for buttons. But remember, you are not your customer. Everyone places different value on different things, and you just don't know what people are going to buy until you put it out there for them. So again, you can see here's one down here that's assorted St. John buttons. So apparently this person is finding either a lot of damaged items, or nicer garments come with extra buttons with them. So who knows, they could have just saved up a bunch of extra buttons they had and put them in a lot and sold them. But anyway, you get the idea there on, don't throw the whole item out. Consider piecing it out and see what you can get for it. Also, you want to make sure you put replacement in the title. That is a keyword you're going to want to use. That's what people search for. So, keywords are very important. Make sure you put that in the title. St. John and Chanel are known for their beautiful details, especially the buttons. So just look at the item as maybe it's not sellable as a blazer or a jacket, what else can you do with it? These Chanel buttons, just the buttons, sold for $239. I mean, it says right here, Chanel 12 gold medal CC, that's the logo for Coco Chanel, front light pink buttons, lot of 12. Unbelievable. $239 for some buttons. So, like I said, you just never know what's out there. Don't throw an item out until you look it over and figure out if you can piece it out. Okay, let's move on to buttonholes. High quality garments have buttonholes reinforced to keep the button from pulling on the fabric unevenly or even ripping through. Ideally, buttonholes should be bound or reinforced by very densely stitched thread. So you can see a close-up on this. See how this detailing is done, and one end of the buttonhole is bigger than the rest of it. High quality clothing has a keyhole buttonhole, which means that they include a round hole on one side. So that's what this is. And this allows the button to sit comfortably in the buttonhole without distorting, pulling on the fabric. Obviously, this is not a detail you're going to look for right off the bat. It's not going to jump out at you, but as you look over the garment and you're looking at all the other things, the lining, the hem allowance, the details, the fabric it's made of, the seams, and you see this, you're going to know you've got something high quality there. And there's another picture of a keyhole buttonhole. Okay, zippers. Higher quality items have flat covered zippers. Unless an exposed zipper is a design element, like it's there on purpose, they should lie flat and be covered with a placket. So if we look through our stack of samples here, you're going to see, for example, on the Talbot skirt, how the zipper in the back is completely covered. It looks more like a seam than a zipper. And if you look at the inside, you can see how well the lining is sewn around it. It's all even. There's no exposed edges of the lining. This zipper was, it took a while to put this in here correctly. So that is an example of a good one. Also, if we go to the Tahari skirt, same thing. You can't even tell the zipper is from the back. You can't even tell it's there. And if you look on the inside, it's all very even, evenly stitched in with small, strong stitches to hold it in place. If we look at some of the not so well made items here, the Walmart skirt, this actually is put in pretty well on the back. You can't see it too much. So this is actually not a bad example. But if we go back over here to this, the black and pink, you can see on the outside it looks okay. If you pull it apart, you can see the stitches, so that's not so great. But when you look at the inside, you can see the edges of the zipper. This was a very quick job just to stick that in there. So this is an example of a cheap piece of clothing that you would not get very much money for. If we go over to this silk top, let's see, does this even have a zipper? Yes, it does. Nope, no, it doesn't. That's the lining. Sometimes on tops you'll see, or dresses, there'll be a side zipper, and that's like the one in the picture here, the green. You can't really tell it's there. So that is another telltale sign. Let's go back to the Madewell skirt since we keep looking at that. And we look at the back, and the plaid is exactly matched up along the zipper line. You can't even tell it's there. And then if we look at the inside, it's very neatly put in, no raw edges exposed, and very tiny stitches to keep it in place. So those examples, you can look at those closer. So here's another one. You can see on the back of this dress, you can barely see the zipper at the top, and then it blends in very well along the pattern, and everything is matched up here, so you can't even tell the zipper's there. That's put in very well. So just to recap, exposed zippered, like this is supposed to look like that. because it's a design element. It's adding contrast. You're supposed to see it. So that's different than poorly a poorly made zipper. So that is the end of the tailoring section. And remember, I'm going to have photos of all of these items that I'm talking about that aren't shown in the presentation that you guys are passing around feeling. I'll have a folder of photos in your Dropbox link so that you can refer back to that. That's the best I can do to replicate this presentation, even though you're rewatching it. It's not live. You can't handle the item and look at it. So I'll have a folder for each one of these examples that you can refer back to and look more closely at the pictures. Obviously, won't be able to feel the material, but you can look at things like pattern matchups, zippers, and the details that we're talking about. Okay, so the next section is going to be on cleaning and repair.